What's going on, everybody? TRAE4JUSTICE back in the building. I've been gone quite some time, but I just want to start off by saying I missed you all so much, and I know you all said don't do this, don't apologize, but I think you all know me at this point. I am sorry. I have to say it. I'm sorry for taking such a long break, but we have finally finished day 12. I don't want to give away too much. I'll let you all see it, but yeah, Darrell definitely ends this day in a very dramatic fashion, as he tends to do. He's definitely continuing along the path of trying to delay and distract and just make this as chaotic as he possibly can, but he just looks like a clown. You see, he has no power. Okay, he's an inmate, so he's weaponizing what he knows will actually work. But I don't want to hold you all up for too long. I just want to say thank you to a few people that donated. Thank you so much to Miss Kimmy for a $2 donation. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much for continuing to watch along and for sticking with me. Thank you so much to Rachel Riley for a £5 donation. I truly appreciate it, and thank you so much for continuing to watch along and for sticking with me as well. Thank you so much to Sarah Dowling for a $5 donation. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for continuing to watch along and for sticking with me. Thank you so much to Ruthie Tiger Girl for a $2 donation. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so much for continuing to watch along and for sticking with me as well. And thank you so much to Digi Goodness for a $5 donation. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so much for watching along and for sticking with me. And last but not least, thank you so much to Ty Tyler. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but thank you so much for a $5 buy me a coffee donation. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so much for continuing to watch along and for sticking with me as well. But most importantly, no one has to send me a single thing. What I will say, if you would like to donate to the community of Waukesha, there are links pinned at the top of the comment section. So if you would like to donate to the actual victims in the community of Waukesha instead, there are resources down there for you to do that. Okay, I'm not going to hold you all up any longer. Thank you so much, and I missed you all. I'm glad to be back. I hope you enjoy the video.
Before.
Oh boy.
I'd like to continue by bringing the jury out momentarily, Madam Clerk, and having you
look
call
at the
your next
man
witness.
child staring at the desk. Here we go.
I trust that you're ready to do that, sir. All right, then.
And we need to complete the task of
Oh, we do. I knew I would left something in my office, but I reviewed it, so go ahead. What is the state's request then as it relates to the prior? Okay.
I'm pausing super early. I'm hoping right now that after that little moment they had where he hit the desk and everything, I'm hoping now she's gonna just be super passive with him. Like, not passive, that's the wrong word, but everything that he does, like, you see how she just asked him to call the next witness and he just sat there quietly. Like, I think she was just gonna like pass him up completely, like, okay, we're just gonna move on. That, like, I really hope that that's the stand she takes now. Like, okay, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, we don't care.
Record.
We believe the proper answer would be 7 prior convictions, Your Honor, and that would not obviously be counting the OWI first conviction from 1993, which is at the top because it's the age of that, and obviously that would not have been a crime. But everything from OWI second on down we believe would be appropriate. There's also one that's noted, 06-CM-2039. It was a case, but all the charges were dismissed and read in, so we're not counting that file either.
Okay, I'm sorry. Actually, I might go back just a little bit just to get some context on that. I don't know if they're discussing like Darrell's prior criminal history or if they're actually just talking about a witness that's coming up.
All right, then.
We need to complete the task of
Oh, we do. I knew I would left something in my office, but I reviewed it, so
I still didn't catch the name.
What is the state's request then as it relates to the prior record?
We believe the proper answer would be 7 prior convictions, Your Honor, and that would not obviously be counting the OWI first conviction from 1993, which is at the top because it's the age of that, and obviously that would not have been a crime. But everything from OWI second on down we believe would be appropriate. There's also one that's noted, 06-CM-2039. It was a case, but all the charges were dismissed and read in, so we're not counting that file either.
Can you go run and get that for me, please?
I think they might be talking about Darrell's
I'm gonna have that brought
history,
back out.
criminal
I took
history.
it with and I left it on my desk. And then remind me the statute again on priors.
90609.
Thank you. And a copy of the record was provided to the defendant.
It was. It has not been discussed with Mr. Lizcano.
That was going to be kind of my next topic once, thank you, I look at this again.
Okay, so maybe they're not talking about Darrell. I mean, we'll see here in a second. I need to stop asking so many questions, but I'm actually going to look up his criminal
Mr.
history
Brooks, do you have a position on
just to see.
the prior convictions for this witness?
That
The
answers
state
my
is asking
question.
for a determination by this court that there are 7 prior convictions for purposes of questioning the witness, whether that's by you or by them if they so choose. And that would be for a determination under 90609.
Well, let's move on now. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so okay. We've only just started. Let me not.
I don't know what you're asking.
Mr. Brooks, you may recall at some point I believe we had a discussion about prior convictions. I think maybe we only discussed that if you were to testify, we would have to have that conversation. So in fairness, I don't
No,
think
there was one state's witness that had one prior that we discussed. And
that's
the court
right.
ruled.
We did. I recall now. So at that point, I directed your attention to 90609. And then I made a ruling based upon the factors that are enumerated in that statute. You've been provided with a listing of the record. I would direct your attention to, I'm not sure if I see that book out there, but the statute book that I previously provided to you, but that the 90609 would be in there. But in any event, the state is asking that I make a determination about how many for purposes of the questioning of this witness. Do you have any comment, statement, or position on that?
The 40-second pauses. I guess he's unlocked a new way to hold things up. Sorry. Hold on.
Looks like it's 9 on here.
Which is the one the state referenced that the charges are listed, but they were dismissed?
2000, well, it's recorded as 06 CM 2039. 2 times violate harassment/restraining order, and then it says DM/RI, which means dismissed and read in. 2X MBJ, which would be 2 times misdemeanor bail jumping, dismissed and read in. So no convictions from that file.
So why is it on the sheet?
This would be an accurate listing
How
of the
stupid is
cases
this?
that you found when investigating the witness's background.
Yes, Your Honor.
And nothing since 2007.
That's correct.
All right. Any statement you want to make, sir, on what the number of convictions this court should consider under 90609?
Here we go. The dumbest statement you could possibly think of. Here we go. It's his time to shine.
What is dismissed and read in?
There it is.
Does that mean there was no charge?
No, it means it was when there was a conviction for something else, the charge was dismissed and read in, and then the court considered it at the time of sentencing. So they are not convictions, but it was a case. So that's why, my understanding, why it was listed.
So the two. So where it says dismissed and read in, that would be the restraining order and the MBJ.
Right, misdemeanor bail jumping. So 2 counts of violate harassment restraining order were dismissed and read in, along with 2 counts of misdemeanor bail jumping dismissed and read in. I'm guessing, but the state can confirm that it either was read into 06 CM 1859 or 06 CM 3149.
Yes, I believe it was the 1859 case, Your Honor.
So at the time of the conviction for resisting obstructing, there was a misdemeanor bail jumping dismissed and read in, and then the other charges, all of which are listed under 06 CM 2039, dismissed and read in.
So then 8. Should be 8.
The OWI first would not be criminal, as I understand it, and so I believe that's why it's not, the state did not ask it that it be counted. Because the statute requires conviction of a crime or an adjudication of delinquency.
This is
So
insane.
there's no crime for OWI.
An OWI first would not be a crime, it would be a forfeiture.
He's actually sitting here and is thinking as hard as he can to come up with the dumbest questions he could possibly think of. Like, that's all this is turned into right now. You know, it's 40-second pauses, and then it's him trying to figure out what's some weird angle that he can cause chaos and confusion. Oh, it's supposed to only be 8 charges here. And then a second ago, he said it's only 9 here. And I don't know. Or it's only supposed to be 9 here. It's so much, like, I can't even keep up with the stupidity. But here we are. And he's still thinking about it.
I still would say 8, just based on the fact that there's continued OWIs all the way up to a 5th.
I'll remind the parties of the factors to consider for exclusion include the lapse of time since the conviction, or in this case convictions, the rehabilitation or pardon of the person convicted, the gravity of the crime, the involvement of dishonesty or false statement in the crime, the frequency of the convictions, and any other relevant factors. So based on that, do you have any argument that it should be less than that?
Less than what, 8?
Well, it'll be less than 7. He has 7 convictions as I count them.
And that's not counting OWI first.
Correct, because it's not a crime. It can't be counted under the statute.
Then it's 7. Should be 7.
All right. Do you want to make any argument about whether any should be excluded under the statute based upon the factors I just read to you?
Well, you already made reference to one of them not being a crime. So that brings it to 8. I don't understand.
How does he keep going back to 8?
Well, for example, the last conviction was in 2007. It's now 2022. So do you want to make an argument to the court that perhaps he's been rehabilitated?
I don't want to speculate on the next man's life, but if it's 7 on here, well, I guess it brings it to 7. And whether OWI first is not a crime, it still counts as what it essentially is nowhere to get to 2, 3, 4, and 5 without the first. Looks like 7 to me.
All right, then. Anything further?
All right.
State on this.
No, Judge, thank you.
Given the number of convictions, factually, although the first one's not a crime, the OWI first, Mr. Brooks is correct, is from 1993, and without that you don't get the other criminal OWIs. But I would note the record is from the criminal record is from 1997 through 2007. That spans about a 10-year time span. It's now 2022, but there's essentially an agreement by the parties that there are 7 convictions that are listed here. I've looked at the lapse of time since the convictions. I don't know about rehabilitation or pardon, other than it looks like he did complete the earned release program, which would have resulted in a reduction of initial confinement and then converted to extended supervision. I don't see violations of probation listed, meaning that he was revoked. I see some extensions, but that could be for a variety of reasons. But given that there was a pattern with the OWIs, that the last one was a felony, that goes to the gravity of the crime. And the other issues, I'll find that for purposes of his testimony, that this witness has 7 convictions. He may be asked, have you been convicted of a crime? His answer should be yes. And then the follow-up, how many times? The answer will be 7.
Okay. So I'm guessing that they're discussing a witness that Darrell has chosen to come up, and they're just talking about his prior criminal history. So he's going to need their testimony to sound airtight and to sound as if, oh yeah, you can trust this witness. But the fact that he just said, well, I don't want to speculate on the next man and, you know, what their situation is, because we all know Darrell only cares about his life. But the fact that that's what he needs this witness for, and the judge even said, well, maybe you could prove that, maybe your angle could be that he's been rehabilitated or something along those lines. I mean, I don't know if that's really, if that would matter when it comes to like his actual testimony, like to try and prove that he's been rehabilitated. But it's just like, when I think about it, it seems like that's something you may want to try and touch on, just to persuade the jury that, hey, this guy's testimony, he's rehabilitated. He's good for what he's saying. Like his word is good, I mean. And so you can trust what he's saying, basically. I don't know. He's so simple-minded, he doesn't think that deep into it. You know, let me know if I'm wrong, because you guys let me know these things. I don't know if that's what he could do or if that even would matter. But yeah, definitely let me know. Thank you.
That will have to be told to Mr. Lozano before he testifies, Your Honor, I believe.
I agree. State willing to relay that information?
I'd rather not. Given the accusations levied by Mr. Brooks, I think it's better we do it in open court, Your Honor.
All right. Who's your next witness? Will it be Mr. Lozano? Because if it is, I'll just have him come in now and I can put him on the stand and advise him of that.
May I ask who's present right now?
Well, for sure Mr. Hayes and Mr. Lozano, and I'm not sure the 330 witnesses, I think, are probably on their way. They're on their way.
All right, so Hayes and Lozano are still here?
Yes.
All right. Those are the 2 who are here, sir.
He's going to call Hayes because they're pressuring him to do Lozano.
I'll tell you what, either way, let's just bring Mr. Lascano in case he's not your first, but then I don't have to deal with the interruption.
Yes.
With the jury. You don't have to call him first unless you want to, but I'll just bring him in and advise him. So if someone from victim witness could bring him in, please. Can I have a first name for this witness, please?
It's Abel, but I believe it's pronounced a different way. It's A-B-E-L.
I thought for a second she was just going to override him and just say, you know what, we're bringing him in so you can question him. I'm not playing this game anymore, but she's just...
Subject matter jurisdiction, Your Honor.
The court declines to address that.
Still has yet to be verified and proven for the record.
Your objection's noted for the record. Do you want Mr. Lascano on the stand, or are you going to call Mr.
Jeez.
Hayes? Just so I know what to do when he comes in.
I don't currently have, I can't find paperwork from Mr. Hayes. Can a police report or something be provided in case I want to call Mr. Hayes first?
Yes, we will accommodate that request. It'll just take me a minute, Your Honor, to find it. I'll have to have it printed and brought over, or Mr. Witchow can run. Thank you, Mr.
I will give you
Witchow.
permission to email it to Teresa, and she can print it in the courtroom.
Well,
that will assist.
It's part of a 700-page PDF, so I can't just email one page.
I see.
At least I don't know how to do that. Copy and paste it into a Word document.
That's all right. You can do it the way that you need to.
He found a new angle. New angle to slow everything down.
Mr. Lascano, I'm just going to have you, for a moment, take a seat. You're not going to testify just yet, but just come up and take a seat just at the end of my jury box for now. I'm not going to have you come up to the witness stand. Everyone can have a seat. I want to advise you that I'm aware you have a prior record. And so for purposes of testimony, I've made a determination that if asked, have you been convicted of a crime, your answer should be yes. And then if someone asks the follow-up, how many times, the answer to that is 7. Have you heard me say that?
Yes.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'm not sure that you'll be called next, but I wanted to do that while I didn't have the jury here. You can go back out into the hallway then. Thank you.
Look at this. His own mind is so sinister that it's giving him a headache right now. His head is hurting from containing all that evil.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. The defense may call its next witness.
Okay. He's going to call the other person just because he knows that they... Here we go.
Defense calls, is it Jason Hayes? Jason?
I knew it. I knew it.
All right. We'll have the witness brought in.
I'm telling you, these 12 days, we have really gotten to know the type of person this guy is. You can tell that that's exactly the route he's going to take. Just defiant, and he's just going to rebel for no reason at all.
Or Hayes? Does anyone know?
No N, to the best of my knowledge.
Hayes?
No way, no.
All right. Good afternoon, sir. If you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is on my right. Upper riser. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, who's across from you, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat.
Yeah, even though
First
they...
thing I will
oh,
ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Jason, Jason, Hayes, Hayes.
Thank you. Go ahead,
get
sir.
my
Your
notes
witness.
open.
1 second.
But yeah, even though they weren't explicitly telling him, like, hey, you have to call this witness, like, I knew he was going to call the second option.
Return for value this document for the record.
Even the witness made a face.
Is that how you pronounce it, Hayes?
Yep.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a retail sales associate for a food broker, Damon Worldwide.
Been doing that for a long time?
21 years.
Yeah, it's a long time. The evening of November 21st, 2021. You recall that evening pretty well?
Fairly well, yes.
What were you doing that evening?
Went to the parade.
Did you go to the parade with family, friends?
I went there with my daughter.
Do you recall what time you arrived?
30 minutes before the parade started.
Were you scheduled to do any marching in the parade itself,
No.
or just spectating?
Yes.
Just for the record, did you say yes to being a spectator?
Yes.
Thank
That's
you.
what I thought he said.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure there was.
Yeah, he answered.
Every time they say they had a child with them, I start getting nervous.
Anything unusual catch your eye that day that you recall?
Yes.
And
Oh boy.
what did you see?
Besides the parade,
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was unusual that caught your eye that evening.
well, where we were, yes, a red truck came through where we were. It honked and swerved.
I guess I want to back up a little bit. Where were you positioned at that
We
time?
were all the way at the beginning of the parade.
Okay.
Like, it was Main and the corner of Main and White Rock.
Okay. And you said you observed this vehicle honked and swerved.
Yes.
What did it swerve from?
I'm sorry.
What did it swerve from?
Where?
Or was it, I guess the correct question would be, why did it swerve?
I don't know. I wasn't driving. I don't know what his intentions were.
And you stated that the vehicle honked. Was that just a single honk, or was it a beep beep, or
One honk.
do you recall stating that it honked several times?
I don't
And
recall.
when you were initially.
I don't recall.
So, well, before we get to that, did you see where the vehicle went after it honked and swerved?
Yes, it kept on going straight down Main, east, the same route the parade went.
Did you get a description of who was driving the vehicle you saw that
I
day?
did not.
Did you get a license plate?
I did not.
Do you recall if the vehicle had any tinted windows?
No.
And I'm assuming at some point you were, or you either were interviewed by law enforcement or seek to be interviewed by law enforcement.
I did, by a detective.
And do you recall if that was the same evening, or
It was not the same evening.
so it was,
It was a
that
couple days
prior?
after.
Okay. Do you recall in that interview that you had with the detective stating that your kids were playing in the roadway and the operator of the vehicle honked the horn several times and veered to the left around the kids?
Yes.
So in your opinion, it wasn't trying to strike the kids?
Correct, yes.
Oh my goodness. That's disgusting though, that he's even trying. I don't even know why he brought that up, you know, considering the fact that at the beginning of the parade, he literally ran through a marching band full of children. And at this point, he swerved around his kids, so he's trying to make it seem as if, well, I wouldn't do that. You know, I wouldn't strike children with my vehicle because I didn't hit his. I swerved around them, right? I'm that type of person. No, you're not. Not at all.
And after it continued, I think you said east?
Yep.
Would that be correct? East?
Yep.
Did you see the vehicle strike anyone?
I did not, no.
Hopefully during cross-exam they ask something that brings up like, oh, what is the... Sorry, I'm going to pause just in case he talks. But hopefully during cross-examination they ask something to bring up like, well, how did the vehicle look when you saw it? Or did you see other people having to jump out of the way? Just so, you know, I mean, look, at this point on day 12, the amount of evidence that's been shown, he's going to be locked away for the rest of his life, you know, just based on what we've seen so far. But I'm just hoping that during cross-examination, the prosecution just brings something up, because he's trying to just say that and then speed past it. Like, okay, I veered around your kids, right? Okay, cool. Thanks for saying that much. No. Hopefully they ask, well, did you see other people having to jump out of the way so they wouldn't get hit? Okay, so he was trying to hit people that day. Ridiculous.
Do you recall what side of the street the vehicle was traveling on at that time?
It was on the right side.
On the right side.
So we were on the north side of the road.
Okay. So the right side would be...
Yep.
Okay. Did you see the vehicle stay on the north side of the road for the duration of the time that you observed it?
Yes.
So you never saw it go to the other side of the road, or?
No.
I was just about to say he's getting through this direct examination pretty quick, but
No further questions at this time.
thank you.
Yes, just briefly. Good afternoon, Mr. Hayes.
Good
All
afternoon.
right.
Thank you for your attendance, sir. Mr. Hayes, do you remember seeing a police officer at this intersection as well?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you remember writing in your report or telling the police officer that a police officer chased the vehicle on foot?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. It's cross. You may answer.
I do remember that I thought I saw a police chasing after the car on foot.
Okay. And do you remember also telling the same officer that the SUV took off down the street and that it accelerated?
Yes.
Objection.
Is that...
Hold on, there's been an objection.
I guess the objection to be what officer is being referred to wasn't clear.
Overruled. The statement continues.
Wait.
In the question.
I guess I was asking, was that referring to the interview officer?
Your objection is noted. It's overruled. The statement asked the question fully.
Is that your recollection, sir, that the vehicle sped off and accelerated away?
Yes.
Objection speculative.
Overruled.
Do you also recall telling the officer who interviewed you that the driver of the vehicle had a dark complexion and a beard?
Yes.
Is that accurate with your recollection of the driver?
Yes.
But you didn't see a face, you couldn't
No.
identify anybody
leading.
beyond those descriptions, correct?
Hold on. There's been an objection to leading. It's overruled. The witness may answer.
No.
All right, thank you, sir. Those were all my questions.
Thank you. Any redirect, sir?
Briefly,
Oh no. I thought you didn't see me.
very brief.
I don't know if he's gonna say that.
The defense may call its next witness, please.
Wait a second. I don't know if he... What happened?
Very briefly.
Okay, that's really weird. It like jumped to the end of the examine. I don't know what happened or anything. Okay, give me 1 second. Hold on. I'm sorry. I gotta figure out what happened just now. Okay, sorry about that. It like jump cut to the end of his testimony, so I found another video. I'll make sure to link this as well down in the description if you guys want to see it without my commentary. But yeah, we'll go ahead and continue where we left off.
Those were all my questions.
Thank you. Any redirects, sir?
Briefly. Very briefly.
Oh man.
You made a reference to the driver of the vehicle having a dark complexion. What would you consider a dark complexion?
He loves to ask this.
Dark complexion. I don't know.
It is kind of hard. Did you notice any clothing?
I did not. No.
Did you notice any hair?
No.
No further questions?
All right, thank you. You may step down.
Pointless. Pointless. That was just that did nothing at all. You know, he thinks too that he just said something that really like made the jury doubt everything that he said, but it literally did nothing at all.
Quick question before I do: who's supposed to be arriving at 3:30? Just so I know.
I'm not sure.
Babietz and Darrell will be here at 3:30. Mr. Liscano is here now, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I knew it was here now. Just trying to get clarity.
Are you going to call Mr. Liscano?
I mean, if you would have paid attention, then
If you're so, he's the one that's here.
All right, then he may. The defense is calling Abel Liscano.
he's such a child. Oh my goodness. There's no other way to describe this. All the
Defense is calling
exaggerated facial expressions.
Abel.
Abel Liscano.
All right, very well. We'll have him brought in. Thank you.
Jeez, it is disgusting. All the exaggerated, like dramatic facial expressions he makes. I'm so comfortable looking at like the law and crime ones. I'm just gonna switch back over to that. Actually, let's get a thumbnail. He's such a cartoon character. This is like the most Jim Carrey-esque. Like, I don't even know how to describe this. What is this? What is this right now? Okay, I was grabbing a thumbnail.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. First thing I will have you do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Abel Liscano, ABELLAZCANO.
Thank you. Your witness, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Liscano. What do you do for a living currently?
I'm a hairdresser.
No judgment whatsoever on this question. Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes, I
Him
am.
asking this question.
And how many times?
7.
The fact that Darrell Brooks is asking him this question.
Do you recall the night of November 21st, 2021 pretty well? I know it's been a minute, but
Best as I can, yeah.
what were you doing that evening, if you recall?
The Christmas parade?
Were you marching in the parade? Or,
No, I was watching it.
who were you there with? Family, friends?
My wife and my daughter.
Do you recall where you were positioned to watch the parade?
I was standing in front of the Corey Insurance on Main Street.
Okay. Is that part of Main Street close to like a side street? If you recall.
not too far from Maple.
Do you recall the side streets being barricaded during the parade?
I don't remember.
Do you recall what time you arrived at the parade that evening?
It had just started, so whatever time that was at.
Okay. You recall something other than the parade catching your attention that day?
People getting hurt, yeah.
Jeez.
And what did you see that day, if you recall?
I saw a red SUV plow over a bunch of people.
And did you see the driver of this SUV you're referring to?
Yeah, you're standing right there.
What's gonna happen now? Oh boy. This is gonna become hostile pretty
And
quick.
how many people did you see in the vehicle?
Just one, the driver.
So, do you recall
What's Darrell gonna do now? Let's go back to your criminal history.
riding down a law enforcement vehicle that evening?
Yeah, I do.
And do you recall what you told the officer that evening?
Not very well.
I'm gonna attempt to see if anything brings back some recollection.
Oh boy.
First, do you recall the name of the officer you flagged down that evening?
Officer Moss.
Do you recall telling Officer Moss that you observed 3 or 4 people in the SUV as it passed you?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I thought once he identified him as the driver, it was just gonna be complete hostility.
So,
But I guess he's afraid of him, I'm guessing.
to your recollection, the SUV that you saw, did it have tinted windows?
I don't remember.
But we know that this witness was either a woman or a police officer.
And do you remember
Hold
what
on.
the description was that evening that you gave to law enforcement?
I told him it was a red SUV.
The description of the driver, do you remember that?
I know he was a black male.
Is that all you recall about your description?
That's all I remember.
After seeing this vehicle, what did you do?
We left. I got my family out of there.
And where did you go?
We headed back to the car.
Do you recall where your vehicle was parked?
I believe it's the Lindholm or what building? It's on Maple Street.
And did you see the vehicle stop on Maple Street?
Which vehicle?
The SUV that you claim you saw.
Oh, no, I didn't see it stop, no. It kept going through the parade.
And speaking with, is it Detective Moss? Well, speaking with law enforcement that evening, do you recall advising law enforcement that you observed 3 black subjects running from the vehicle?
No, I don't remember that.
If it pleases the court, I would like to show the witness this. I'm referring to page 4 exactly.
Is it a statement this witness personally wrote?
I believe
No.
I don't think he wrote it himself.
So it's a summary written by another person.
By I don't know if it's Officer Moss or Detective Moss. I'm not sure what his rank is.
We do this every time.
Continue with your questions. I'm going to deny the request that you show the exhibit or the paperwork to the witness.
Every time. Look at how tame he is right now.
Do you recall making the statements to Detective Moss that you observed one where it says one was described as running southbound on Maple towards College Avenue? Do you recall that?
No, I don't.
Do you recall stating that the other two were described as running in a westerly direction from the rear of 338 Maple Street?
No.
Do you recall stating that one black subject was described as tall, wearing a blue top and blue and black pants, while the other subjects were described as two short black males wearing sweatpants?
Barely, a little bit of that.
So, which of these subjects do you minimally recall wearing those items that evening?
No, you asked me if I remember people running, and I said no. I remember describing those people to him. I remember.
So where did you observe those?
Standing by the vehicle, where I found the vehicle, where I spotted it.
So wait. Okay, so he said where he found it. So maybe he was there, like at the area where Darrell had left the vehicle in the driveway, maybe at some point in time after he left the parade. Because right now, the way that he's asking these questions, he's all over the place. Because you know he loves chaos, so he's trying to throw everyone off. I have a feeling it's a lot more to his story than what Darrell is asking right now. So I'm thinking maybe once he left the parade with his family, on the way home or wherever they were going, pretty much, he must have seen the vehicle where it was parked as well, and he saw the people that were gathered around it. This is just a guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure the prosecution is going to ask him something that's going to like unveil all this stuff, but this is just what it sounds like right now based on what he just said. Because yeah, the fact that he said where it was found or something like that, I mean, we're going to see here in a second. But
just so we have clarity, describe the subjects you saw that evening standing by the vehicle.
I don't remember that good. I mean, you were describing them, so it brought back a little bit, but I can't tell you. That was too long ago.
And how did you come upon the vehicle at the address of 338 Maple Street that evening?
I was walking my family back to the car.
oh, I see. Okay.
To get them to safety. So I was keeping an eye out, and I spotted it.
That is so crazy how the story like weaves together like this when you hear all the testimonies.
Do you recall stating that you saw the SUV reverse into a driveway?
No.
Do you recall why that would be reported?
No. When I found it, it was parked already.
Okay, sorry to pause in the middle of that, but something that's kind of unrelated to like what the trial is basically about right now. It shows you that people are always watching when something is going on, because the fact that there are so many different vantage points and there are so many different perspectives of what happened that day. Like the amount of witnesses during a time where I'm pretty sure Darrell thought, like once he got out of the vehicle and started running, I'm sure he was thinking, okay, nobody saw me just now. But even during that time, you have neighbors that saw him through the windows. You have people that came outside of their homes, like neighbors that saw it across the street, and people that saw him during the time he was going through the parade, and when he's actually and then they see the vehicle when it's parked. Like the amount of witnesses and the amount of things that people have seen and the amount of information they're able to like actually provide is one of the most interesting things about like watching these trials and stuff. But okay.
Do you recall when you initially had the interaction with Detective Moss? Do you recall leading him to where the vehicle was ultimately found?
Yeah.
Do you recall yelling at subjects standing outside of the building where, or near where the vehicle was that evening?
I remember asking them. I don't remember yelling at them.
Do you recall why? Do you recall why the report says that?
How would he know that?
You advised Detective Moss.
Here we go.
3 black subjects, specifically black subjects, running from the vehicle?
No, I don't remember.
I thought he was going to ask, can you recall why he wrote this or something?
Were you yourself injured in this incident that evening?
No.
Do you recall stating that? Well, let me back up for a minute. Did you speak with another detective that evening, if you recall?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall if that was Detective Coates?
I don't remember his name.
So it'd be fair to say that you spoke with 2 different law enforcement officers that evening.
Yeah.
Do you recall in your interview with Detective Coates, in reference to the vehicle that you saw that evening, do you recall telling Detective Coates that it appeared there were 3 or 4 people in the Ford Escape as it passed you?
No, I don't remember that.
Do you recall in your interview with Detective Coates that evening stating that you could not provide any description of the occupants other than that they appeared to be African American?
Yeah, I remember saying that.
So it'd be fair to say that you observed African Americans in this vehicle that you saw, correct?
The reason why I came up with 3 or 4 people was because when I was walking by and I saw the car, there was 2 or 3 black males standing by the vehicle, and there was at least 3 or 4 more on the porch. So I figured they were by the vehicle. It must have been the ones trying to hide the vehicle because they were standing in front of it or real close to it.
In your opinion, did it look like they were nervous or attempting to hide?
Well, everybody was running past them and walking really fast, and they were just standing around there. They were the only ones not doing much. So yeah, they stood out.
Now, this is the question actually was in reference to when you spoke with Detective Coates that evening, in reference to seeing the vehicle in the parade as it passed you. Do you recall at that point, while at the parade that evening, do you recall stating to Detective Coates that it appeared that there were 3 or 4 people in the Ford Escape as it passed you during the parade that evening?
No, I don't remember that.
Any reason why the Detective Coates would report that that's what you stated to him?
Like I said before, I saw 2 or 3 people by the vehicle, so I assumed they were with the vehicle. So they must have been in the vehicle during the parade. I saw the driver going by because he hit somebody right in front of us.
Jeez.
Do you recall in your interview with Detective Coates that evening stating that the 3 individuals, and I'm referring to who you saw next to the vehicle, so it's clarification. The 3 individuals who were standing in a line, shoulder to shoulder to shoulder as African American males?
Yeah.
So it's fair to say that's what you observed that evening?
I saw at least 2 of them. And looked like they were standing in front of it.
And during that interview with Detective Coates that evening, do you recall stating to Detective Coates that you may be able to recognize the older male? So I'm assuming one of the individuals that you saw standing shoulder to shoulder was a older male?
Yeah, I don't remember.
You know something? If Darrell would have actually if he would have actually picked an argument that he was really gonna try to hammer into the jury's minds that, okay, this is a point that proves that that wasn't me there. So he's tried so many different things. One of them being there were multiple people in the vehicle, which is, basically the angle he's trying to play out right now, and which is why he called him here, to kind of make the jury think oh, maybe there were other people. But he's basically tried to use so many different arguments all at once. He's used so many different arguments that if he would just stick to one, and maybe if he called the witnesses up in a strategic way where it's okay, this one can say that they saw multiple people and this one can say, but he's just been all over the place. Since the beginning, he can't really say what it is that he wants his argument to be, and none of it makes any sort of sense either. So, I mean, it's nothing he really could do. But I'm pretty sure we've had other witnesses that have said something similar, or they saw multiple people run away from the vehicle. So, if he would just pick an argument basically and just say, hey, there were more people in the vehicle that day. I mean, he wouldn't explicitly say it. I mean, I'm glad he didn't, because he needs to be put under the prison. But it's for somebody that claims he cares so much about himself, he tries nothing. He tries no angles, or there's no strategy to any of the things that he does. I mean, I know that's no news to anyone, but there's literally zero strategy to what he's doing.
Any reason why multiple, well, I'm not going to say multiple, 2. Any reason why the 2 detectives that you spoke with that night both reported that you stated you saw 3 black subjects running from the vehicle?
No.
And during the parade incident, were you or anyone you were with injured that evening?
No.
No further questions at this time.
Thank you. Any cross?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Lascano.
Good afternoon.
Sir, you said you watched the parade near Curry Insurance, is that correct?
Yeah, right in front.
Okay. Do you remember, you said you saw the SUV strike some people in the parade?
Yeah.
Yes? Do you remember what group of people in the parade? Can you remember anything about the name or the banner or the costumes or anything like that?
Objection, leading.
Overrule.
Oh boy.
Speculative. Objection.
Overrule. The witness may answer. I believe he said no. His answer may
Yeah, no, I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember seeing the SUV strike more than one person?
Yeah.
Objection. Speculative.
Overrule.
About how many people did you see the SUV strike, sir?
Objection. Speculative.
Overrule.
It was crowds. I mean, when it was coming through, because I was standing over my daughter and my wife, they were sitting on the curb. I saw it coming through, and at first it looked like it was just pushing people out of the way, and then it just kept swerving back, and it was just plowing everybody out of the way until it got to in front of us. Then it actually hit somebody, and just did like a cartwheel in the air.
You remember that?
Yeah, it was right in front of us.
Okay.
And while the witness was giving the answer, not the last answer, but the one prior to that, he had his right hand in the air. directioning his hand from right to left, describing the vehicle coming from right to left. And then when he said he saw someone go into the air, he was like twirling his fingers as if to say it kind of tumbled in the air. All right, go ahead.
Another flawless description. Yet
So,
another one.
Mr. Liscano, I want to talk about the moment when you located this vehicle on Maple, okay? I'm going to ask, Madam Clerk, could you please turn on the AV system? We're going to put up State's Exhibit 65.
Go ahead.
Objection to the relevancy of Exhibit 65.
Video of officer
Noted. Overruled.
walking with his
It's been
dog.
received. The state may proceed.
All right.
I remember this.
Total clip is 36 seconds, but before we begin to play it, sir, do you recognize the area on the screen that's
Yeah.
shown in this picture?
Yeah, I believe that's Central Middle School,
Where?
right at where the stairs is.
Okay, the red brick on the left side of the picture?
Yeah.
Objection
Okay.
speculative.
Overruled. His answer may stand, he said, I believe.
And would you agree with me, the house where the SUV was found was up in this area here where I just put the green dot on the screen?
Yeah.
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
That looks right, correct, sir?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
All right, we're going to clear the screen, please, and we're going to play this entire clip for 36 seconds. Please watch and see if you see yourself or any of your family members in this clip.
Objection to the relevancy of this video to this particular witness.
Overruled. You may play the clip.
Overruled on what grounds, Your Honor?
I remember this with Officer Saliers walking with his dog and older daughter.
Is that attacking agreement?
And there he is. I don't know if you all can see it. I'll try to blow up the video a bit so you can see it a little better.
Sir, did you see yourself or your family in that clip?
Objection speculative.
Overruled.
No, I did not.
Okay. Now, you said you did see, by the time you walked past the car, you saw 2 or 3 black males standing near the car, right?
Objection mischaracterization of this. He said 3. Specifically said the number.
Overruled.
What?
And you also said you saw 2 or 3 what you thought to be black males on the porch of the residence there, correct?
Objection stated it was black males. Asked and answered.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
No.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, there was 2 or 3 standing by the vehicle,
Okay.
and then on the porch there was maybe 3 or 4 or more people. I don't know if they were. I'm sure they were white, but
Okay.
I was trying to not make it obvious at the time. I believe that they were with the vehicle, so I didn't want them to see that I saw them. So I just did what I
Understood.
thought was right at the time.
Sure. Do you happen to know the people that live at this house?
Objection speculative.
Overruled.
No, I did not.
Would it be reasonable, do you think, Mr. Lescano, that people living in the house heard the crash and came outside and that's who you saw standing there by the vehicle?
Objection. There was never any crash mentioned.
I'll sustain. It calls for speculation.
Mr. Lescano, is it possible that the people you saw standing near the vehicle were in fact just neighbors that saw the vehicle the same way you did?
Yeah.
You described that at the time you went by on Maple Street, there was a lot of people running around in the area. Is that correct?
Objection mischaracterization of testimony.
Overruled.
Yes, there was.
And these are people hurrying away from the parade with their families, trying to get to safety just like you were, correct?
Objection speculative.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Yes.
You didn't see anything like that in State's Exhibit 65, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Oh boy, a tantrum is coming.
You said on direct examination that you saw the driver of the SUV in the parade. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And you see that driver present in this courtroom here today, please?
Objection speculative.
Overruled.
Yes, he's sitting right over there.
Are you sure about that, sir?
Yes.
Objection. Speculative.
Overruled.
No speculation about it. None at all.
said
This
that-
characterizes the testimony because that was not testified to before on direct.
Oh, your objections are overruled. I believe the witness already answered.
He definitely pointed him out during direct.
Did you happen to notice in Exhibit 65 the red SUV in that video clip that you watched?
No.
You didn't see it at
Couldn't
all,
see
did
it,
you?
no.
Okay, just wondered. Mr. Liscano, have you and I ever spoken about this case, sir?
No.
What about Attorney Basie here to my right? You and her ever talk about this case or your testimony?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
No.
Mr. Witchow on the end, did you ever talk to him about
Objection.
your testimony, sir?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
No.
All right, thank you, sir. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Yep.
Go ahead.
The clown show continues. All right.
You stated that you saw the driver, correct? Of the
Yes.
SUV that you saw that day, correct?
Yes.
And how did the driver look that day you saw him?
He had a scruffy beard, and he was a black male.
Did you see what the driver was wearing?
No, I don't remember that.
Did you see if the driver had any hair?
I don't remember that either.
Did you see if the driver had anything noticeable about their appearance? Tattoos, scars, marks, anything like that?
No. I saw the side, the profile, the side. You were flying fast down that street.
Epic foreshadowing.
I wasn't paying attention to the color of clothes you were wearing. I knew it was a black male and had a scruffy beard. It's the first thing I told my wife, is he was a black guy driving.
And do you recall how long you were able to get a side view, as you called it, of the alleged driver?
No, it had to be a couple seconds.
And in a couple seconds time, you were able to make out the driver's profile and race just by a couple seconds.
Yeah.
How does he think a mind where it is just...
Tell if you were white or if you were black and if you had a beard. No, that's it. I don't know what color shirt you had on. If you had hair, a hat on backwards.
Like I've talked about this in another video. The way that he thinks like the human mind works to where like you can't really process what you're seeing, almost as if like it takes forever to really understand what it is that's happening in front of you. Like I honestly believe he thinks it takes like a whole like minute just to see and get what it is that you're actually witnessing before your eyes, when it's like, no, it just takes, I believe it's like milliseconds with how quick the mind can process what it is that it's seeing. I mean, don't quote me on that, but the fact that he's trying to make it out that 2 seconds of him seeing his face is not long enough, it's just ridiculous.
So that leads back to the question of, is that the only person you saw in the vehicle?
From what I remember, yes. I saw the driver. Like I said before, the reason why I thought there was 3 or 4 because I saw 3 or 4 people around the vehicle when I spotted it.
So would it be
That's
fair,
the only reason.
Would it be fair to say that
Here we go.
when you spoke with 2 different detectives that evening, the evening of the parade, both of those officers reported that you stated there were 3 or 4 people in the SUV as it passed you? Is that fair to say?
Oh, wait, can you repeat that again?
Just for clarification, you already stated previously in testimony that you spoke with 2 different detectives that evening, correct?
Yes, I did.
And both detectives that you spoke with that evening, the evening of November 21st, 2021, you stated to both of those law enforcement officers, detectives, that you observed 3 or 4 people in the SUV.
Like I said before, the reason why I said there must have been 3 or 4 was because they were standing by a vehicle. So I assumed that they were with the vehicle. I don't remember seeing them in the vehicle when you were hitting the people.
You stated this to both detectives.
He just answered the question. Oh my goodness.
Evening of November 21st, 2021. And this was in relation to what you saw from the vehicle at the parade, not where the vehicle was later found.
He just told you why he said that.
You stated to both detectives in relation to what you saw at the parade. Why both detectives in their reports stated that you told them that you observed 3 or 4 people in the SUV at the time of the parade.
So what's your question?
The question is, why did you report that to 2 different detectives?
Okay, so I'm pretty sure he's just trying to frustrate him right now because he literally answered it and then he asked it again anyway. He answered the question, which is that I said that because I assumed the people I saw around the vehicle, I assumed they were in it. So that's the only reason I said that. So I guess he just wants him to repeat it a 5th time or something. Like I'm really confused, but
on the same evening.
Like I told you before, when I walked past the vehicle, I spotted more than one individual standing in front of the vehicle. So I assumed they were with the vehicle. That's why I said they were inside.
I'm sorry.
That's why I said they were in the vehicle. I said there had to be at least 3 of them in the vehicle. That's the only reason I said that.
So why would you report that you saw this during the parade?
ridiculous.
I don't know.
And during both interviews with detectives that evening, the evening of November 21st, 2021, you also stated to both detectives that you observed 3 or 4 black or African American is the word used. 3 or 4 African Americans running from the vehicle. Any reason why both detectives reported that you said that?
No, I don't remember.
No further questions.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Do we have additional witnesses here?
Yes, Your Honor, they're ready.
Yeah, it got pretty painful there at the end.
There's 2 left.
Okay. So the 2 left on your list. Your next witness, sir.
So I'm guessing that's, oh, I know who it is. Just give me 1 quick second, Your Honor. 1 quick second.
Go ahead.
Jeez, okay. That's code for about 5 minutes. But yeah, it got pretty painful there at the end. I mean, honestly, with how long it takes him to understand. I mean, he repeated the answer about 5 or 6 times there. Now I get why Darrell thinks it takes people more than a couple seconds to comprehend, because he didn't even understand. He's answering the question right now, but you're still asking it as if it's not being answered. It's just weird. But I'm pretty sure he just wanted him to say what he wanted him to say, which is, I saw it during the parade that there were more than one person, that there was more than one person. But I want to apologize as well if my recording style right now is very rusty. I'm trying to, it's like I had a certain groove. It seemed. Hold on.
Sure, I have the correct paperwork.
But okay. So when I recorded, it's like I had a certain groove to the way that I recorded the videos, and now it seems like I'm a bit all over the place. So I'm sorry if it's like coming across in the video, because I've been gone for a really long time, which I'm also sorry about.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat.
Get my notes open.
First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and then spell each.
Kathleen, K-A-T-H-L-E-E-N. Last name Urell, Y-O-U-R-E-L-L.
Thank you so much. Your witness. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Miss Urell. Is it Urell?
Urell.
Urell. What do you do for a living?
I'm in workforce management for a call center.
November 21st, 2021. Directing your attention there. You recall that evening pretty well?
Off and on, sir.
That's fair. It has been a while. Do you recall what you were doing that evening?
Yes, sir.
And what were you doing that evening?
At what time?
Around 3:30, 4 o'clock-ish.
I was dropping off my children who were participating in the parade.
And
Oh,
did you
no.
yourself stay for the parade?
Partial parade, yes.
Oh no, here we go.
Partial meaning maybe a few minutes.
Until my group of children went by.
Okay. Do you recall where you were positioned during watching your group participate in the parade?
Yes, on north and east, right on the corner there.
North and east.
If you're going parade route, it would be on the right-hand side.
Just so we have clarification, can we pull up the exhibit? I believe it's 15. We can. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Every time they say is children involved,
Can we show it to the?
immediately get nervous.
He doesn't want it published, so just to the witness for now.
Just not yet. Just I'm going to make sure the witness gets a chance to view it first. Can you see that on your screen yet?
I do.
And
Exhibit
using
15.
the touchscreen, it's a touch screen. Can you point out where
It's
you?
not published. So do you want it published?
I'm sorry. Yeah, publish.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to point that
So
out.
just so I know, to use the touch, it has to be published.
No, she could use it, but if you're going to have her do it, it should be done in front of the jury.
Fair.
Okay, go ahead.
I think we got to wait on the jury, right?
Causing more chaos once again.
For
What
the
is
jury, can you, using the touch screen on your screen, can you point out exactly where you were positioned?
When I was watching it,
Yes, when you were watching it.
right on the corner. Sorry. Oh, well, if you want to
Can you
reverse
clear?
it
Can you
again,
clear
I'll do it
the
again.
arrow?
We'll clear it. You can do it again.
Yeah.
If you don't want, do you want the arrow?
Well, it was to the...
Clear it again.
Okay.
So it's a touch screen, so use your index finger and you can draw a circle.
Okay.
I was going
Can
to
you
say
clear
that.
Well, I mean, it was right there, but...
I was going to say a circle or a little dot if.
Well, I thought I would do the dot, but...
Yeah.
Oh.
Hold on.
Heavy
We'll do it
hands.
again. So press and hold while you draw.
Okay.
Notice he's having the time of his life right now when this is happening.
And you said that would be approximately East Main and Northeast.
Correct.
He loves chaos.
And do you recall if those there's side streets right there that you can see? Is that fair to say?
Correct.
And those side streets would be Northeast and Buckley, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall if there were barricades at those?
I can't honestly recall. I can't be sure.
We could take Exhibit 15 down.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And you said you stayed at the parade until your group had passed.
Correct.
And what time did you leave?
I can't determine the time. It was right after my group of kids went by.
And where'd you go from there?
I walked down, well, I went to go get the car because I had to go pick them up at the end of the parade.
And I'm assuming at some point your attention got drawn to something happening. That'd be fair to say?
Not necessarily.
What do you remember when you went to go get the vehicle to pick up members of your group? Would that be fair to say first? I don't want to assume.
Yeah.
Do you recall anything happening at that point?
A situation did occur before the said big event that took place.
What do you recall happening at that time once you were on your way to get your vehicle?
I think I need more specifics from you to give the details you may be looking for.
Right, he's not getting to the point here.
While you were getting your vehicle, did you observe anything happening? Did you overhear about anything happening at that point?
Nothing of that nature. Well, all I can say is that I was walking past White Rock.
Did you see anything that may have alerted your attention at that time?
Yes, a car coming through the parade at the beginning on White Rock where the parade was starting. So when I left, I walked down Main to White Rock on the corner there. Then a gentleman, a child who I don't know who they were, and myself walked across the street. And at this time, a car was beeping and weaving around a slight curve that White Rock has, and then continued on.
Did you see Did you see where the car went at that point?
Yes, I did. As it came around the slight curve White Rock has, it started to move forward, and then it went straight across. When I was thinking it was going to leave the parade route, if you leave the parade route on Main, you're leaving. Sorry, if you turn left, you're leaving the parade route. If you're turning right, you're going right into the parade, and it went right to the, if you're looking at the parade, it was on the right-hand side, and it's continued on into the parade.
Hold on, just for the record, she was using her hands during her testimony. I just need,
Left.
that's okay. I just need to make a record of it. Usually her right hand just kind of demonstrating the course of travel that she described, the vehicle, and I think that's probably all I need to put on the record about that. Go ahead. Next question.
I want to back up a little bit. When you first observed this car, as you say, you recall that it was blowing its horn.
Yep, it was, the horn was beeping.
Do you recall if you saw who was operating that vehicle?
Unfortunately, sir, I can't recall.
Do you recall if you might have seen multiple people in the vehicle at that time? Or?
You know, unfortunately, due to the time passing, I cannot recall.
That's fair. It has been a while. Do you recall about what time that was that you observed the vehicle?
Again, I can't be sure.
Sorry if I keep asking.
No,
stuff.
I can't be sure. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to hold it together. All these little moments where he's like chuckling and he feels like he's having like a moment with witnesses. I cannot stand it. Or he's trying to have like a wholesome moment, almost like it's
at the time that you observed
fake.
The vehicle. Did you see it strike anyone?
I did not, or at least I don't recall. I'm sorry.
And do you recall if the vehicle was speeding at that point that you observed it?
It wasn't speeding, but it was, all I can state is it wasn't speeding.
Definitely too fast to be on a parade route, though. Which a lot of people have said that. A lot of witnesses have said, like, oh, it wasn't going overly fast, but it was...
Did you happen to catch the license plate number of the vehicle at that time?
No, not at all.
Do you recall if the vehicle had any tinted windows?
I couldn't recall, I'm sorry.
Any windows rolled down or up at the time you observed it?
No, unfortunately, I don't remember.
Do you recall if the vehicle passed close to where you were walking at the time?
Yeah, it was close enough that it could have easily have clipped me or the two people that were in front of me.
Jeez.
When you were the two people that you referred to in front of you, were any of you hurt at that time?
No.
Okay, but I just wanted to say really quick, it makes sense what she was saying about the it wasn't going like overly fast, because we've heard other witnesses say that as well, that it wasn't going like extremely fast, but definitely fast enough to where he shouldn't be going that fast on a parade route, basically. And definitely when there are people along the parade route, like with a vehicle, you don't have to go too fast to do some serious damage to people. So I get what she means by that.
No further questions right now.
Thank you.
Hey, Cross.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Darrell. Thank you for being here. You testified on direct examination that you don't recall whether or not you saw more than one person in that vehicle we're talking about. Remember saying that?
Yes.
You remember meeting on December 2nd, 2021 for an interview with Detective Jay Carpenter from the Waukesha Police Department?
I remember going. As to a lot of topic of conversations, I unfortunately can't recall those too clearly.
Do you remember telling Detective Carpenter that you only observed a driver in the vehicle?
Objection, leading witness.
Yeah,
Overruled, you may answer.
I can't be too sure.
Overruled, you may answer.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
I can't be too sure. Again, some of the conversations I might have had that day.
Do you remember what this vehicle looked like?
I do not.
Do you remember telling Detective Carpenter that it was a red truck?
I do not.
Okay. Can we please put up for everybody Exhibit 15 again?
Go ahead.
Can we zoom in on the intersection of East and Main?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Your testimony is that you were standing here on the northeast corner of Buckley and Main Street. Is that right?
Correct.
Objection, already answered that, asked and answered.
Overruled, you may answer.
You said correct?
Correct.
And after your children walked by in the parade, you walked in this direction towards the intersection of White Rock and Main. Is that correct?
Objection,
Correct.
leading and speculative.
Overruled as to both, you may answer. If there is another objection, just wait
pause.
until I rule on it.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, that's okay.
Correct, that was.
And then you crossed through the crosswalk on the north side of Main Street. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that when you saw this vehicle we've been talking about?
Yes.
So you were standing in the crosswalk.
Correct.
Do you remember a police officer being in that intersection?
I can't be too sure.
Okay. Was it clear to you that this was a parade route?
Yes, it was. Very clear.
Was it clear to you that traffic from White Rock should not have driven onto Main Street
Yes.
unless they were part of the parade?
Yes.
Did it appear to you as though the vehicle we've been talking about was part of the parade?
No.
How many children do you have, Miss Urel?
Objection, irrelevant.
Overruled.
Oh my goodness, oh my gosh, that is the most, that makes me so angry. I cannot believe that. I really cannot believe it. And it's weird I can't believe it because we've been here for so long now looking at this. And look, at the moment I paused it, she broke down crying. This dude is an absolute monster, man. Like, I've been away now for quite some time. I really need to stop doing this where, like, I allow myself to be surprised by this. But absolute filth. He just asked, how many children do you have? Or he's asking questions about her children in general. And he just says irrelevant. And tries to brush it off as this, oh my God. All right. I'm going to hit the play button. I'm going to do it. But this is like a really emotional moment. I hate these types of things because he is absolute filth. Okay, we're going to do this. This is sad. This is horrible.
4 children.
All 4 of your kids were marching in the parade that day, weren't they?
Yes.
Objection leading.
Overruled. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Your
You're
oldest
doing
daughter,
great.
Charlotte, she was 14 at the time.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
She was marching with the extreme dance group as an alumni, wasn't she?
She was handing out candy.
Objection.
There was an objection, it's overruled.
I didn't even state why I was objecting, but okay. We still need a 15.
Yes, please. You see on that map the 5 points intersection?
Yes.
When you were standing in the crosswalk at White Rock in Maine, could you see the 5 points intersection?
I could not.
You didn't see your kids get hit, did you?
I did not.
Objection leading.
Sorry. Again, sorry.
Objection hearsay.
Overruled.
Oh, man.
I did not.
Did you see them later that night?
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
I was only able to see 2 of my children that night.
When did you see the other 2?
Oh my gosh, dude.
Days later, when I was able to leave Children's Hospital.
As their mother, you were directly involved in their medical care and the decisions that were made in that process in the days after the parade?
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, their father and I.
Charlotte suffered a chipped vertebrae from being struck, didn't she?
She did.
Objection
Jeez.
leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
She did.
Your daughter Alice, she was 10 at the time, wasn't she?
She was.
She suffered chipped front teeth, is that correct?
Yes.
And facial scarring
Yes.
and road rash
Yes.
and a broken fibula and tibia
Yes.
and broken metatarsal bones.
Yes.
She was observed in a concussion protocol, is that correct?
She was.
Your daughter Vivian, she was marching with the extreme dance group too.
Oh, this is making... Okay. This is just insane. Like, the strength it must take for these people to not rush him every single day they bring him here. Every day that they bring him into the courtroom, I'm surprised a different family doesn't rush him to, like, get their hands on him every time. The strength of the Waukesha community is something that, like, it's incredible. It's really no other way to explain it, because this is just, as I'm sitting here listening to this, and I'm not a father, I don't have kids, but when you, and a lot of you have kids, But like I have younger kids in my family, so it's like whenever I think about myself in this situation, I just don't know how they're able to deal with this. It's just, oh man, this is heartbreaking stuff. Literally trying to fight back tears right now listening to this, because this is insane. Okay, all right, I'm not gonna hold you guys.
Yes, she was.
How old was she in November of 21?
She just turned 7.
Vivian suffered a severe concussion, didn't she?
Objection, lady.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
And road rash?
Extreme road rash.
And a lung contusion?
Yes.
And facial scarring?
Yes.
And your 7-year-old daughter Vivian suffered a broken tailbone, didn't she?
She did.
Your son Grayson, he was 8 on November 21st.
Oh
Is
no.
that correct?
That is
Objection,
correct.
lady.
Overruled.
He was walking with the extreme dance group handing out candy, is that right?
He was.
He went to the hospital after the parade, didn't he?
Yes.
He suffered a compound fracture in his femur, is that correct?
An open compound fracture.
Meaning the bone came through the skin?
Yes.
Objection, hearsay. I don't believe he's a doctor.
Overruled. The witness may answer based upon personal
Absolute filth.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
A police officer saved Grayson's life by placing a tourniquet on that open leg wound, is that correct?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions.
Will you read the record?
Please take the camera off of him. This dude's a joke.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Absolute clown. Call your next witness and keep the clown show
He's gonna
going.
take down these exhibitors. He's gonna stay up
Oh,
on there.
thank you. We'll take it down.
Oh boy. I'm tempted to skip that moment they just left the camera on him right there. I was so tempted to skip through it. I don't even want to see his face right now. Don't want to hear his voice.
Please call your next witness.
Just 1 second.
I apologize for all of the pausing. I know I'm breaking the action sometimes with the especially with some of the stuff they're saying. So I do apologize about that. Yeah, I really don't know what to say about what just happened. I mean, I think some of you told me in the comment section that that was coming up. And that's rough.
Catrice, I don't know how to say the last name.
Fisher
Give me
Price
that
attorney.
spelling that you have.
Babiaszz.
And it's Babias. What's your last name?
Babias.
Babias. All right. Thank you. You are at the witness stand. Would you please raise your right hand? My clerk, Teresa, will swear you
All
in.
right.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you
Let's
God?
get the notes back open.
Thank you, ma'am. Please have a seat. First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record, and then spell each.
Catrice Babias, Katrice Babiazz.
Thank you. My apologies for mispronouncing that earlier. Go ahead, your witness.
Good afternoon, Miss Babias.
Correct.
I'm surprised I got it right.
Keep it.
What do you
keep
do
talking.
for a living?
I am a law enforcement dispatch supervisor.
And how long have you been doing that now?
I've been in law enforcement for 16 years.
The evening of November 21st, 2021, were you on duty that evening?
I was not.
What were you doing that evening?
I was attending the Waukesha Christmas Parade with my family.
And do you recall what time you arrived there with your family that evening?
I arrived to the parade shortly after it started, so it was right after 4 p.m.
And do you recall where you were positioned at with your family when you arrived at the parade that evening?
Yes.
And where were you positioned at?
I was towards the beginning of the parade. I was on Main Street, where it connects with White Rock Avenue.
There was a lot of law enforcement present at the parade.
Did anything catch your eye that evening when you were positioned watching the parade with your family?
Yes.
What did you see?
I saw a red SUV coming from White Rock Avenue. The vehicle caught my attention because people started yelling, and the driver was honking the horn.
And do you recall, to the best of your knowledge, it's been a little bit, the driver of the vehicle you observed was honking his horn? Was it gesturing to people?
Yes.
And what do you see? What did you see the gesturing as?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
What was the gesturing?
What was the driver gesturing?
Yes. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So he was taking his hand and going like this, really rapidly, aggressively.
For the record,
Oh, here we go.
Right hand up above, probably above her. I wouldn't say at a 90-degree angle, but somewhere maybe at a 45-degree angle with her hand, waving back and forth multiple times in a rapid motion. Go ahead.
Someone needs to do a compilation of every time she does that, because the fact she's able to just do that at the drop of a hat, just explain what they're doing. Like, somebody needs to really get an entire compilation of all that. Jeez. But yeah.
You yourself being in law enforcement and just based on what you were observing, the driver of the vehicle you observed was honking his horn and gesturing with this motion. Would you take that motion as trying to alert people to move out of the way? Grounds.
Sustain us to the form of the question. Please rephrase.
How did you yourself take that gesturing?
I took that gesturing as the driver was telling people to get out of his way.
Do you...
Okay, sorry to pause so early there, but does he think that means like, oh, I didn't mean to hit these people, I was gesturing? Doesn't that prove enough, the fact that I'm waving my arms to tell them to get out of my way? Like, the details that he focuses on are just so ridiculous, and it proves that he's just not all there mentally. The fact that he thinks that's enough to make people feel, oh, okay, well, clearly he didn't want to hit people. He was telling them to get out of his way with his arm, even though he was still hitting them. Ridiculous.
Back up. Did the vehicle pass pretty close to where you were positioned?
Yes, the vehicle almost struck my daughter.
Do you recall seeing the driver?
I looked the driver right in the eyes.
And how did the driver look?
Here we go.
The driver looked like through me.
What do you mean through you? Describe what you mean by through you.
That's horrifying.
I feel that it is very hard to explain that look, but it was very frightening.
That's exactly what you could see too in that image where he's just staring forward, like that one image of the side of his face. I know you all remember.
You recall what the driver was
okay.
wearing?
Hold on.
The driver had a like hoodie sweatshirt or sweatshirt on, and something on his head. I wasn't sure if it was the hood of the sweater or maybe a beanie hat. It was winter. I'm not 100% sure.
Were you able to see any hair?
I did see hair, yes.
How would you describe the hair?
The hair on the head was in front, like dreads down here from what I could see underneath the hood or the hat. And then there was facial hair, beard and mustache.
Did the vehicle...
Hold on, I just need to make a record of she was also using her hands. That's okay.
We're getting a lot of descriptions.
Indicate at the neck, like under the chin, neck area, with her hands coming down a few inches to indicate what she was describing as hair being seen from the driver. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Nice.
When you observed the vehicle approaching, was the vehicle speeding?
When the vehicle was approaching from White Rock, the vehicle was not speeding at that time.
To the best of your knowledge, do you recall there being any barriers present where you were positioned at?
Yes.
Do you recall if the vehicle you observed had any tinted windows?
I do not recall.
Were you able to make out a license plate number of the vehicle, being that it had passed so closely by you?
No, once the vehicle continued past my position, I was more concerned about my children that were with me.
I'm assuming at some point you spoke with the law enforcement about what you saw that evening. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And do you recall what agency that was?
I do.
And what agency was that?
The FBI.
At what point were you not able to see the SUV once it passed you?
I lost sight of the SUV once it went into a bunch of people.
Do you recall what date it was that you spoke with the FBI agents on? Was that the same evening or a few days after?
It was not the same evening of the parade, but it was that week. It was within the next few days.
The day you spoke with FBI agents, do you recall stating the driver was wearing a red top that appeared to be made out of a sweatshirt-like material?
I don't recall exactly what was said to the agent, but I do remember the sweatshirt, yes.
A red sweatshirt?
It's possible.
Just a little bit ago, you said that, well, when asked the question of did you recall hair for the driver, you stated and made the gesture that the hair was in front. Do you recall saying that?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall when speaking with FBI agents stating that the hair was pulled back?
The hair appeared to be like possibly in a ponytail, but it was so full that it was coming forward.
Yeah, that definitely describes how his hair looked too in the mug shot that I first saw of him. Pretty much the image that they show like on the thumbnail of these videos. I might put it up here so you guys can see it, but that definitely explains like how his hair looked on that day.
Do you recall, well, let me back up. Did you leave the parade at that point?
At what point?
After seeing the vehicle?
Yes.
Were you injured the evening of the incident?
Yes.
You were injured?
Yes, I was.
Oh, man.
Any reason why that's not reported?
Probably because I didn't tell anyone else.
If you were injured, why not tell anyone?
Because I haven't wanted to talk about the traumatic experience that I went through for still reliving the weeks and days after the incident.
Oh my gosh. This video is really insane. This is a really insane one. He can't even contain his sociopathic ways in this one. He can't even hide a single thing anymore. The idea that she went through something that was traumatic to her and she wanted to go through it her own way. She just said she was injured. She didn't want to tell anybody. She wanted to deal with it on her own and didn't report it to anyone because she wanted to deal with it by herself. This is something he can't even comprehend. You know, as somebody that fakes his own injuries, you know, him as somebody that fakes having his shoulder injured and making them take him to the hospital and, you know, draining the resources that could have been used for the victims that he created. Of course he can't understand it. He could never understand something like that. He's going to say something stupid. You can tell just based on the way that he was behaving right there. But here we go.
It doesn't make any sense. You talked to FBI agents a few days where you said you didn't, to be fair, you said you didn't know. You said it was that week is what you said.
It doesn't make any sense, he says.
You spoke with FBI agents. Reported no injuries.
They didn't ask me about injuries.
Well, would it be fair to say that kind of information would come up when talking to law enforcement, seeing as how you yourself work in law enforcement? It just seems odd, don't you think?
I do not. I was not physically injured.
Oh. But you didn't report this at any time whatsoever. Grounds.
Sustained. Already answered.
So did you speak to anyone about this in law enforcement?
Objection made.
Grounds.
Overruled. She may answer. He clarified law enforcement. Did she speak to anyone about this in law enforcement? I interpreted this as the injury.
Right.
So go ahead.
I feel like, no, I did not.
Did you file any claims related to the incident?
No, I did not.
Are you going to end the clown show or not? That's the real question here. I don't even think he knows what to really ask right now. Like, I think that statement kind of threw him off when she said she wasn't physically injured.
So is today your first time bringing up your alleged injury?
No, it is not.
He's gonna stay on this topic. I knew it. Go ahead and say it. Say something ridiculous.
At some point, you were subpoenaed by the district attorney's office to testify here to testify in this trial. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, it is.
Do you recall when you received that subpoena?
From the district attorney's office, it was in July.
And do you recall whom you spoke with about the information regarding the subpoena?
I contacted the victim witness advocate, Carrie Peterson.
You contacted the Ms. Peterson after receiving the subpoena?
Correct. The instructions told me to.
Okay. You ever spoke with anyone directly at the district attorney's office?
No. Correction. Yes, when I walked in today, I met there and let them know I was here, and then they walked me into a room, and I waited until I was called by you.
So before today, you had no interactions with anyone related to the district attorney's office besides the, I think you said, victim advocate?
So the victim advocates who have been in connection with and letting me know when to come and all of that.
Of the three district attorneys seated to my left at this table, had you had any interactions of any kind with any of those three district attorneys?
I have not.
I thought we were going to have a moment where she...
I believe, just for the record, when you asked that, Attorney Basie was just pointing to herself and the two people next to her, so it's clear, because since there's two tables.
What would be the reason for that?
Since there's two tables of individuals, I think she wanted to make the witness aware. And I just wanted to point it out for the record since it happened.
Here we go with this.
Working in law enforcement for 16 years, I'm sure this isn't your first time being involved in a trial. Would that be fair to say?
I have not been in a trial for law enforcement. No, I have not.
You've never witnessed a trial, sat at a trial, been in a trial?
I have not.
He thought he was going to use the angle of, oh, she would already recognize who the prosecution is and who the defendants are in this case. Like, he was really hoping she would say, yeah, I've done this hundreds of times. But I think she just works in the dispatch department, which I'm not sure if in that branch of law enforcement, if they have to do a lot of like trial attendance or anything like that. But he was really hoping she would say, yeah, I've done this like hundreds of times. I definitely would recognize who is who here. But looks like that's out the window.
Testified in any way before today?
This guy will not give up.
Overruled, you may answer.
I have testified before, yes.
So it would be fair to say that you would have knowledge of where an alleged defendant and the district attorney would sit in the courtroom, correct?
I know where they're sitting, yes.
That was the pettiest line of questioning.
I want to back up a little bit to the observation of the vehicle the evening of November 21st, 2021. While you observed the vehicle approaching your position, did you see it strike anyone?
I did not see the vehicle strike anyone, no.
From your opinion, observing the vehicle approaching your position, did it appear that the vehicle attempted to strike anyone?
Yes.
And why would you come to that conclusion?
Because I saw an officer have to jump out of the way in order for the...
When it was approaching.
When it was
approaching.
I'm confused.
Hold on, everyone. The question was asked. This witness is going to be allowed to answer the question fully without interruption. Go ahead and answer the question.
Thank you. I misunderstood his question, I guess.
Answer the question that as you understood it.
Yep. So I saw that an officer have to get out of the way, and he was attempting to stop Mr. Brooks from driving through the parade, and he was at the last minute jumped out of the way from the vehicle. Otherwise, he would have been struck.
Okay, I'm sorry to cut it off. He's going to throw an absolute tantrum here from that. So she just used his name, but also, why is he asking these questions? Why is he asking her about if you saw someone nearly getting struck, or if you saw someone get struck? Like, she's already, earlier she said the vehicle disappeared into a crowd of people, which means she probably saw some people either get hit or she saw them nearly get hit. So I have no idea why he's doing this right now, but he's going to throw a tantrum because she just said his name, but also he hates when Judge Darrell doesn't let him do what he wants. So she just made everyone shut up so she could go ahead and give this answer, which in turn led to her saying his name. Okay, it's just get ready for the tantrum here. It's coming up.
You just used the name Mr. Brooks.
Oh boy.
For the first time that you've been testifying. Would that be fair to say?
I don't understand your question.
You just used the name Mr. Brooks for the first time since you've been testifying. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, yes.
Why haven't you used that name before? You've been up there for quite some time.
I didn't need to.
It's going to be an attack now.
For the last question that you needed to.
I don't understand your question.
You just stated that you didn't mention the name before because you didn't need to. So what about the last question that you answered made you feel like you needed to use the name for that question and no question before that?
This is argumentative.
I don't know.
She wanted to. You absolute clown. Because it was you. Her facial expression. It's ridiculous. I've used that word so many times in this video, but there's no other way to really explain it.
Out of curiosity, how did you come to the knowledge of that name?
It was on the subpoena I received last week.
Are you aware I don't identify?
A little bit earlier in testimony that you received your subpoena in July. Now you said last week.
Those are both correct.
So you
what does that matter?
received two separate subpoenas?
Correct.
What was the difference between the two?
One was from the district attorney's office and one was from you.
So the one that you received from the district attorney's office in July didn't have a case caption on it?
Okay, what's a case caption?
They just make up a term? What is that? What is the point of this right now?
Just 1 second.
Your name was on your subpoena.
I really don't know what the relevance is for
There's
this trial.
There was no objection at first.
No relevance at all.
There's no.
I'm going to sustain the objection under 906.11 because I don't believe it advances.
The only thing it is for us to argue.
I think
trial.
I think you know where I was getting at with the question.
Then you need to ask your question directly, sir. Go ahead. But I'm sustaining it as to the form of the question.
When you were subpoenaed in July by the district attorney's office, the subpoena didn't contain information to the case you were being subpoenaed for?
Objection to relevance.
Grounds?
Sustained. You don't have to answer that. I sustained the objection on that. Those grounds. Ask the question I believe that you're trying to ask, not that one.
Was the name that you mentioned, Mr. Brooks, anywhere on the subpoena that you received from the district attorney's office in July?
Objection. Relevance.
Grounds.
Oh, sustained.
Grounds for the sustained. That
Not
was
relevant.
What?
It's not relevant. How does this prove that you didn't drive through a parade? How does that prove the name that is on the subpoena? How does that prove you didn't drive through a parade here? This is what we're here for. This is why he literally just wants to argue with people. And then when he gets shut down for it, he throws a little baby tantrum like this. It's insane.
So
it's mind-boggling.
In July, when you received your subpoena from the district attorney's office, were you even aware what you were being subpoenaed for?
Objection. Relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained. Not relevant.
She's testifying in the trial and it's not relevant that she got subpoenaed?
Mr. Brooks, she's here under your subpoena.
What?
You called her as a witness.
The subpoena is relevant because she
Mr.
was
Brooks,
already
under
subpoenaed.
90611, please ask the witness a
This is
relevant and
mind-boggling.
probative question.
This is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
Remind the jury that the statements of the parties or the attorneys are not evidence.
The clown show continues.
So were you aware that it was a chance you would be possibly testifying in this trial?
Yes.
And did you know who the trial was for?
Objection.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for
relevant.
sustained.
It's not relevant.
I've never heard of nobody testifying in a trial that they didn't know who the trial was for.
Mr.
think
Brooks,
that's- I think
I'm
that's very
sustaining the
relevant.
objection under 90611 and I'm asking you to move on.
Y'all, this ridiculous, man.
Gross. That's very attorney-like, isn't it? That is very attorney-like to, I'm sorry. That's very attorney-like to make the statement. Okay, now I'm in a mood where I'm just laughing at him now. But yeah, that's very attorney-like to make statements like that and then to just aggressively cough into the microphone before you ask a question. Okay, all right.
Seems to me like a like a lot of your answers are coached. Is that fair to say?
No.
Clown.
So the subpoena that you got last week, is that how you learned the name that you used?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance for the same reason I argued before.
Grounds.
Asked and answered. She's indicated the answer already. 90611, sir. Next question.
The question
Different
was,
topic.
is that the first time that she saw the name?
It's not relevant.
That
Next
was not
question.
asked and answered. That was not asked nor answered.
Under 90611, please ask a question, sir.
Man, what is y'all people trying to pull, man? This is ridiculous.
Mr.
Oh,
Brooks,
let's
if
get
you
him in
don't
the
ask
other
another
courtroom.
question that's relevant and probative under 90611, then I will turn the witness over to the state for their cross-examination.
And then I should be able to get redirect, right?
I hope not.
Your Honor?
Ask a question, or I will declare the
Please do.
examination by you to be ended.
It's not an examination, it's direct.
It's a direct examination, sir. Under 90611, you are directed to ask a question, or I will
I
ask
heard,
the
I heard
state
you.
if they
I
have
heard
any
you, Your Honor.
questions.
I heard you.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Continue your clown show. Now he's trying to do the stare. This stare scares no one. Inmate, continue with your questioning. ridiculous.
You know who the plaintiff is in this matter?
Yes,
Who's the plaintiff?
the state of Wisconsin.
Is that an entity or a living human being?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Not relevant, sustained. Next question.
Have you ever had any interaction with the plaintiff?
Objection. Vague.
Sustained.
Vague.
As to the form of the
Have
question,
you ever had any interaction with the state of Wisconsin?
do not answer that question. Next question, sir. Under 90611.
Was there an objection or was that just a ruling? I'm not sure. You're both was talking at the same time.
Under 90611, I directed the witness not to answer that irrelevant question. Ask your next question, sir.
There's a tantrum building up. He's starting up. He's ramping himself up. What is this? Now he thinks the stare is going to work on them? What is this going to do?
Mr. Brooks, ask your next question.
I'm going to get to it.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. This is disgusting. This is disgusting. So now he's weaponized looking at her. So now because she said that she was afraid, you know, when he initially did that, now he's trying to weaponize looking at her as a way to make her do what he wants. Absolute clown. Get him in the other courtroom. This whole video right now, his ability to not only make me upset with what he says, but then the little facial expressions, the weird things that he does with his eyes and how he moves them. And now he's trying to weaponize a stare. Get this clown in the other courtroom, please.
So when did you first report your alleged injury?
You do not have to answer that question. Next question, sir.
Grounds for
90611, sub 1, sub A, sub B, and sub C.
There you go.
Is that lawful law?
All right. You may sit down. Does the state have any questions for this witness?
Thank you. You can tell that upset Judge Darrell. The way that she said it right there.
Ma'am, that day on November 21st of last year, you were there with 2 kids?
I was, yes.
What were their ages on that date?
Objection.
3
relevancy.
and
Overruled, the witness may answer.
Of course it's going to be overruled.
3 and 6.
And I don't know, Mr. Brooks can sit down. I'm kind of asking the questions right now.
Mr. Brooks, please sit down. Mr. Brooks, you're not asking the questions.
I'm not saying
I would
anything.
ask you to sit down, please. It is disrespectful to this witness and to the state and to the court.
No, it's not.
Let's kick him out.
Not doing anything wrong. I'm merely standing here.
And when you were at the parade on November 21st of last year, approximately where were you watching the parade from?
Asked and answered objection.
Mr. Brooks, it's cross-examination. Just because you asked the question initially and she answered it does not mean the state doesn't get to follow up on it.
He knows that.
They can ask the same question I
The
asked.
state can ask their questions.
So how
Go
come when
ahead.
I did that, it
Overruled,
was
the witness may
it was
answer.
sustained?
I was on Main Street, but right by where the intersection of White Rock, and I was in the roadway.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked and previously admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 15.
Go ahead.
And I'd ask that the screen be cleared. And ma'am, does this show...
Wait till it's in the jury
Oh,
box.
sorry.
I'm sorry. The jury would let me know when it's there. Thank you. It's there now. Go ahead.
Ma'am, do you see a purple line on that would indicate the parade route going from White Rock Avenue down Main Street?
Yes, I do.
And can you approximate where you and your kids were watching the parade?
Yes. Do you want?
I'm sorry, it's a touch screen. I keep forgetting to say that. It's touch screens, just put a dot right where it is. Okay.
Maybe on the other side of that red line?
So, okay, can we clear the screen and maybe just put a dot? I think that, or a circle. I think a circle would be good. Okay, thank you. Would be fair to say is to your left would have been Pleasant Street?
That is correct.
Were there barricades blocking Pleasant Street?
There were there were barricades that were partially blocked. They were on Main Street, but partially blocking Pleasant Street as well.
Could a car have gone down Pleasant Street?
Yes.
Objection.
Okay.
Overruled.
Hearsay.
The witness may answer. It's not hearsay.
So when the red
Hearsay.
SUV came down White Rock Avenue and was making its turn onto East Main Street, as you've testified, it could have just gone straight onto Pleasant Street, correct?
That is
Objection.
correct.
It's hearsay. She's speaking as a
Hold on.
eyewitness,
There's an
first-hand
objection.
eyewitness.
Mr. Brooks, your objection is noted. It's overruled. The witness
As
may
usual.
answer.
It's always overruled.
Your objections make no sense.
Answer me.
Sorry, there's a lot of talking. Your question was, just to clarify, could the vehicle have gone straight onto Pleasant Street? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you. And where you stated that you and your kids were partially in the roadway when the red SUV came through?
Yes, we were.
Objection. That's
And
mischaracterization of what was testified to.
Overruled. The witness may answer. Go ahead.
Give me an answer.
Can you repeat it?
Sure. Were you and your kids all in the roadway when the red SUV went through?
Yes, we were.
Okay. You weren't part of the parade, correct?
We were not.
Okay. So were you standing with other people that were in the roadway?
Yes, we were.
And was one of your kids going to get candy when the red SUV came through?
Yes, my
Objection.
daughter.
Speaking as a first-hand eyewitness.
Because she is a first-hand eyewitness.
No, I'm talking about you.
The objection is noted. It's overruled. The question is proper, and the witness may answer.
Yes, my
Darrell
daughter
logic.
was further in the roadway. We were all in the road, but she was further in the roadway, reaching to grab candy.
At any other time, you stated that this was towards the end of the parade. Is that correct?
Yeah, we saw Santa, and he's always like the end of the parade.
And had your daughter gone to get candy at other times?
The entire time.
Had she, during the time preceding the red SUV coming through, had she almost been struck by any other participants in the parade?
No, she was nowhere near like where the vehicles were driving through the parade. She was no.
So she's going out to get some candy that had been thrown, I assume, correct?
Yes.
And
Overruled. The witness's answer may stand.
you see this red SUV coming. Is it coming from your right or from your left?
The red SUV was coming from my right side, which was White Rock.
Okay. And how close did it come to your daughter?
It was, I wouldn't be able to give an accurate judgment, but it felt very, very close.
Had you not pulled your daughter away, would that car have hit your daughter?
Objection is speculative.
Overruled.
It's very possible.
So you say that you saw a police officer have some contact with the red SUV. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Can you describe that for the jury?
Well, there was a few times that police officers attempted to stop the red SUV. The first one would have been where we were on Main and White Rock. And then there were also other people trying to stop it too. And then again, as it drove, once it turned onto Main, the next road, I believe is Buckley. And there was another officer who tried to stop that red SUV again.
And which is the officer who had to step out of the way in order to not get hit by the red SUV?
What was the question?
Where was the officer located who had to step out of the way to avoid being struck by the red SUV?
I believe that was the officer around Buckley and Maine.
Okay. And ma'am, as the car passed your location, did it increase its speed?
Yes.
Do you know where in the roadway it traveled down?
Overruled. The witness may answer.
The direction of travel?
Where in the road? Was it on the left-hand side, the right-hand side, or in the middle?
It was all over the road.
You saw it all over the road?
Yes.
So going, and why don't you describe for the jury what you saw?
Driving the vehicle, once it turned onto Main, it drove side to side, and then I lost sight when there were through the people as it got down the hill.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Let me read the record.
Here we go. I have a feeling this is just going to be an attack. It's just going to be an attack from start to finish.
You said you observed multiple officers try to stop the vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
You described one at, I think you said it was Buckley, right?
Yes.
Why didn't you report the other officers that you allegedly saw attempt to stop the vehicle?
I don't know what you're asking.
The report that you, the interview that was conducted with the FBI, that was who did your interview, correct?
Yes.
Once again, if every detail isn't disclosed,
Why is it not in the report about the multiple officers that you say you saw attempted to stop the vehicle?
I don't know why that wasn't put in the report.
Do you recall if you told the FBI agents?
It's been a year. I believe so, but it's been a year.
When you say it's been a year,
oh my goodness.
I'm assuming that means that there's some details you don't quite recall all the way. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
So it would be fair to say that if there's details you don't recall, how can you recall the path of travel of the SUV that you claim you saw?
There it is.
Can you rephrase the question? I'm not understanding.
The dumbest thing he could think of.
I'll ask you.
The dumbest thing he could think of.
You just acknowledged that there may be some details that you don't quite recall. So would it be fair to say that you don't quite recall the path of travel of the vehicle?
No, that is not correct.
Okay, once again, how does he think a brain works? Like, how does he think the mind works? There are some things you can remember, some things you can't. It's not an all or nothing kind of thing where if you remember one thing, then you just remember everything. Or if you don't remember, like, I don't know how he thinks it works. Like, he acts as if everything is just so black and white. It's either this or it's that or it's nothing. And it makes no sense at all. The thing is, he knows this. This is all just to make people uncomfortable and to get an argument going, you know? As dumb as he really seems, like I'm pretty sure he understands that this stuff makes no sense. But he, you know, like based on, I haven't heard the phone calls that he's had between him and his mom, but you all have told me about it. in the comments. Knowing what we know, that he's told his mom that he's gonna try to like slow this trial down, he's gonna try to make it as chaotic as he can. I'm pretty sure that he's just doing this to get under people's skin and to make them uncomfortable. You know, anything he can find to argue about. That's really his goal here. It's not to actually fight for his freedom. He knows he has nothing left. This is just to have one last moment to show everybody how much of a dirtbag he is. So, yeah.
Judging by what you just stated, wouldn't it be fair to say that that's a possibility?
No.
So you recall all the details of what you observed that evening, November 21st, 2021?
No.
How come you only remember some things?
So what other details do you not recall?
You're under. How does someone recall the details that they don't recall?
Yeah, that's what I wonder.
Sustained is to the form of the question.
Seems very funny.
It is. It's hilarious.
Seems almost as if.
Oh my God. Can we end this cross-exam? He's getting started.
You're recalling what you want to recall and purposely not recalling.
Objection. Badgering the witness.
Yes, sustained. You do not have to answer that, and you are warned. You may not badger or argue with this witness. Next question.
Badger or argue? What do you mean?
Next question.
Oh, now he doesn't understand. Now.
Don't intimidate the witness is what I mean.
How am I intimidating the witness?
Badgering the witness by eye rolling, by pursing your lips, by making facial movements regarding her answers.
Does she feel intimidated?
Is badgering the witness.
Are you kidding me?
Under 906.11, please ask your next question.
You can't be serious right now.
Please kick him out.
Intimidating the witness. What have I done to intimidate the witness?
The last question was badgering, which is a form can be.
Mr.
Brooks, I've made my ruling under 906.11. Please ask a question or I will stop the questioning.
How did I intimidate?
Please.
Under
You know what? Keep going, Darrell.
Sub 1,
Keep arguing with her.
Sub A, Sub B,
Judge Darrell.
and Sub C. Ask your next question or the questioning of this
How are
witness
you
will
even
end.
a judge? How are you even a judge?
All right. Thank you.
You absolute clown.
Come on,
Thank
man.
you.
This must be all about the 62Q trust, right? That you want to be the beneficiary of?
I'm going to give the jury their closing instruction. We are done with testimony for today.
Yeah, he's definitely getting more volatile as the days are going on.
Bias you couldn't put up in here. Don't even tell the jury the truth. Got no integrity whatsoever. None. None.
Oh boy.
Thank you, everyone.
His little feelings are hurt. Look, he's weaponized not sitting down now. He's found a new angle once again.
I'd like an update on whether Mr. Brooks filled out a subpoena for Dawn Woods and provided that to the state. Has that been done?
No, we haven't received anything, Your Honor, and
That's a
obviously
surprise.
she can appear here voluntarily if Mr. Brooks wants to arrange that. I don't believe a subpoena is necessary. We had subpoenaed her, and she was under state subpoena. So I know that at least some point she had notice, but our position would be, Your Honor, that we will not be responsible in any fashion for producing Miss Woods. Mr. Brooks talks to her on a daily basis. If he wants her here, he can produce her on Monday.
Yeah, they ain't got to worry about that.
So I just wanted to know, because I know a subpoena form was filled out.
If I want her to be here, she gonna be here.
I agree with
So
the
just
state that
know that.
she could certainly appear.
It ain't even got to be no arrangement. All I got to say is come. She gonna come.
He's talking about his own mom right now. His own mom, he's talking about her in that way. His own mom. So it's no surprise that he's treating everyone else like this. But do you hear what he's saying? Okay. I'm not even gonna keep it paused.
Do you intend to call her as a witness? Because I'm directing you to have her here at 9 a.m.
We said all that at the beginning, man. Like, I don't even want to be in here that much longer. Just do what you got to do so I can get up out of here. I'm tired of being in the courtroom that has no integrity whatsoever. How can you even call yourself a
Mr.
judge?
Brooks, I need to make
Kick him out.
a record of
Let's get him out of here.
I need to make a record too.
You don't
When
need
am I going to get the chance to do that?
All right. I need to make a record. He's being removed to the other courtroom.
Thank you.
He is yelling at me. He's not going to let me make a statement or make the record that I need to make. He hasn't sat down for the better part of 2 hours.
All you want. You can hold me in contempt all you want.
I'm not holding you in contempt.
If it's criminal or civil, so I can hit you with you.
I need to clear the courtroom because I do need to make.
I'm gonna give you what you know is coming.
I need him to go to the other courtroom because I do need to put some things on the record. The record should reflect
where's the contract between you and I?
Mr. Brooks
if it's
is
criminal,
yelling at me.
What is the crime?
He is.
Who makes the claim? And what is?
I will make the record when we get back. I will step off, but Mr. Brooks, you're being taken to the next courtroom.
Mr. Brooks, don't try to address me like that, like we cool. You don't have no integrity. How can you even call yourself a judge? Making tacit agreements, being biased, judicial misconduct, trying to steal somebody's system.
You know what's weird? It's weird the things that are surprising me and the things that aren't. I'm used to him having these little outbursts at this point. He has nothing left up his sleeve. So I guess this is his last hurrah. Like, okay, I'm just gonna scream now. Any chance I get, it's not fair, and I'm gonna start screaming. But yeah, I'm glad he's getting kicked out. I was really hoping. I was hoping he wouldn't go that far with it. I mean, this whole thing is gone too far. The way that he treats the witnesses, and then the way that he behaves towards Judge Darrell. But I was really hoping he would just keep talking so he would get kicked out. And at least we got that. But I mean, these outbursts are beyond annoying. And then the fact that, you know, while he was doing that, I was taking a look back there. It's I always forget what it's called. The area where people that are just viewing the trial, I forgot what it's called. But you look back there and you see the families and the look on their faces. And that's the one thing, even though like I sit here and I'm watching it and I'm like, oh man, I hope he keeps yelling so he can get kicked out. And that's all I'm thinking about in that moment. But once you see that, like the look on their faces and the disgust, it's something like you can't really forget when you're looking at this as well. And like I try not to forget it, but let's go ahead and skip over to him being in timeout.
To reflect that Mr. Brooks is in the adjacent courtroom.
All right.
I have verified the audio and video are working appropriately. I need to address some scheduling issues, but before I do that, I need to make a record that at the very end of, after I read the closing instructions, Mr. Brooks,
please don't ask him a question,
to make disparaging remarks about the court in the presence of the jury. I did not respond to those, and once that jury left, he got incredibly loud. He was yelling at me. He, I think, had been standing for the better part of the last couple of hours, even though at one point I directed him to sit down after the direct examination of the last witness. It was apparent to me that he was not pleased with some of the rulings that I had been making regarding objections. I would just remind him that this was a witness he called.
Right.
Therefore, it's proper and allowable under the law, under 906.11, sub 3 to be exact, for the state to ask leading questions, which they did. And at the very end of that, there was an objection based on badgering, which, as the record reflects, I sustained. His voice got louder. He continued to stand. He was being very argumentative with that witness, who, again, he called, given his posture, given his staring, given his pursing of his lips, given the way that he kept asking the same question in different ways, but over and over, not satisfied with the responses that had been given or the court sustaining the objections, that is why I made a finding at that time and sustained the objection for badgering. It was Mr. Brooks who asked me what that meant, and I indicated it's a form of intimidating a witness. I don't mean that in the sense of there's a charge of intimidating a witness. That's not certainly what I meant, but really in the common everyday usage, it's another word, it's a synonym for badgering.
Right, it's pretty clear with the way that he was asking the question, especially when he, a couple minutes before that said, it's pretty obvious that your answers have been coached, right? I mean, that in and of itself, that's an argumentative statement to make towards once again, his witness, and he's accusing his witness of being coached. This guy's a Looney Tunes character, okay.
Clearly,
ridiculous.
He was displeased with the court. After that, I cut off the examination, which I had given a number of warnings that I would do if he didn't ask an appropriate, a probative, or relevant question. During that time of both the frankly, even during his direct examination, definitely during the state's cross-examination and then redirect, it was very apparent to this court, and I think to anyone who was watching, that Mr. Brooks was not pleased with the witness's answers and would roll his eyes at her, or just to himself, I guess, and purse his lips and make other gestures that he did. That it was apparent to this court he did not like her testimony. And again, I'd remind everyone that it was his witness, and he had the police reports for this witness, and obviously was fully aware of her statements to the investigators in this case. So I just wanted to make a record of that. It's in part why at the very end, and given the history of today and his conduct and being removed previously, I thought it important that the court remove him at the end of the hearing outside the presence of the jury so that I could get through a couple of things. We have gotten through the witnesses for which Mr. Brooks issued subpoenas that the state assisted with. I did provide permission to him earlier today, if he so chooses, to call Dawn Woods as a witness.
Please don't let him do it now, after this.
The only other witness at this point that I can identify that's been, for which the court and the state has been put on notice, of course, would be Mr. Brooks himself. I'm not looking for an answer today, but what I wanted to put on the record and what I will put on the record are certain advisements that he can certainly contemplate over the weekend so that when I do the colloquy with him on Monday morning, he's had a sufficient opportunity to think about his decision to testify or not to testify. The advisements that I will give Mr. Brooks at the moment are as follows. Mr. Brooks has a constitutional right to testify. If he chooses to testify, I'm further advising him that the state has the right to ask questions of him, what is referred to as cross-examination. That may include reference to whether he's been convicted of crimes in the past. I still need to make a ruling on that, and I will do that first thing Monday morning. I will also advise him that he has a constitutional right not to testify, and that a decision not to testify, that a jury will be so instructed, not for that, they will be instructed that that cannot be used against him in any way, and there's an appropriate jury instruction on that. If he chooses to testify, the other jury instruction that is typically read simply advises the jury to assess credibility no differently than how they would assess the credibility of any other witness. There's the added paragraph to jury instruction 300. I would further advise him that it is his decision and his decision alone on whether to testify. I will ask him whether anyone has made any threats to influence his decision on whether or not to testify. I will ask him whether anyone has made any promises to him to influence his decision to testify. I will rely upon upon the record, specifically the record made during the waiver of attorney regarding his education. I will ask him whether he's had any medication, alcohol, or drugs within the last 24 hours prior to the colloquy. And I may also confirm that he's able to read, write English. Again, I may also refer back to the colloquy I had during the waiver of attorney hearings.
Okay, and for all of you that are wondering, he didn't testify. I think earlier on I actually asked you all in the comments if he did, because she said this earlier that he will be given the option to testify, and I was curious. So I think while I was editing that video, I looked it up to see if there was any like footage of him testifying, because I just wanted to know if I just wanted to look forward to that, which we know he wouldn't. You know, the idea of him answering for what he has done is just something he would never do.
I will then ask him whether he's made a decision, and then ask what that decision is, and then based upon his decision, I of course will make an appropriate finding. Given how this trial has progressed and the disruptions and some of the issues with, consent or lack of consent, or that Mr. Brooks sometimes raises, I'm also going to advise him today that failure to answer the question on what is your decision, a failure to answer, this court will interpret as a no, meaning he will be choosing not to testify, and the jury will be so instructed. And I may ask that question more than once depending on the circumstances. I'm also going to direct the parties to some cases that I think may become relevant about potential testimony, the scope of it. Chambers versus Mississippi. It's a U.S. Supreme Court case from 1973, found at 410 U.S. 284. Rock versus Arkansas, also a U.S. Supreme Court case, 483 U.S. 44. State versus Anthony, which is a Wisconsin case, 2015 Wisconsin 20. These cases, of course, recognize that a defendant in a criminal case has a fundamental constitutional right to testify in his or her own defense. Of course, that right stems from various constitutional provisions, including the 14th Amendment, which protects a defendant's due process rights to be heard and offer testimony, the 6th Amendment, which protects a defendant's right to call witnesses in their favor, and the 5th Amendment, which protects a defendant's right against compelled testimony unless he chooses to speak on his or her own behalf. I'd also point the parties to State versus McDowell, 2004 Wisconsin 70. Although the right to testify is a fundamental constitutional right grounded in personal autonomy, it is not absolute. There is no constitutional right to present irrelevant evidence. State versus Robinson, 146 Wisconsin 2nd 315. Moreover, a criminal defendant's right to present relevant testimony is subject to reasonable restrictions. Citing to Rock versus Arkansas, there's a balancing test that if and when this court is faced with any of these situations that I will be prepared to go through. Of course, Illinois versus Allen is also important, and all of the other cases that I've cited along the way. State versus Anthony is also important, as I've noted previously. I've relied heavily, of course, during the course of this trial on 906.11. And the primary purpose of a criminal trial is to develop relevant facts on which a determination of guilt or innocence can be made. Efficiency is a secondary objective of trial. And of course, it is the circuit courts and the judges assigned to those circuit courts that are charged with administering the trial and serving these two purposes. So, just tying up, I guess, the last loose end. I've referenced it already, but I think it's worth repeating again. If the defendant wishes to call Ms. Dawn Woods to the stand, I expect her to be here. I expect one of two things to happen. Either he testifies first or he doesn't, or he calls. He can certainly call her after he testifies, but if she is not here at 9 o'clock, when I've advised the jury to be here, I will, of course, have gone through the colloquy with Mr. Brooks, and I expect people to be on time and to be ready to go, to be fully prepared.
Okay, you know something I expect to happen. I don't know if this is going to happen. He'll probably say that she is going to come, and he'll tell her, or he'll probably say that his mom is going to come there, but she doesn't show up at this time slot that she just said that she needs to be there by 9 a.m., I think. So basically, his mom probably won't show up at all, or she'll just show up later, because these are the types of games that he plays and that she plays along with. Because from what people are telling me, because I knew little to nothing about his mom, but people were telling me they're very similar. So more than likely she'll show up maybe like 12 or something like that, and then he'll say, oh, this isn't fair, you wouldn't let my mom come in here to testify. See, all of this entire process isn't fair. Like, I could really see him playing that type of game, but I don't know, it's just a guess.
And then, of course, the state, if it so chooses, does have the option to call rebuttal witnesses and offer rebuttal testimony.
We would not anticipate that as of right now, Your Honor, just so you know for timing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Because once the evidentiary phase of the trial is closed, of course, I will be sending the jury home, because I do anticipate a very lengthy jury instruction conference. It's my hope that that is something we can get done by the end of the day on Monday, but since it's just the parties and not a jury here, I will go as late as it takes, with the hope of, and with the plan of, again, assuming the state doesn't call any rebuttal witnesses, to start instructing the jury on Tuesday morning. I anticipate that is going to be an incredibly lengthy process. We have been working, Madam Clerk has been working very hard on pulling together, just from what we have thus far, the jury instructions. I believe it's well over 100 pages. Yes, with my advanced eyes, I need 14-point font. So with that caveat, but the preliminary instructions were 69 pages with the 14-point font. So I know it's going to take some time. I know I'm going to need some breaks. I do not anticipate getting done with so I keep saying preliminary, but I don't anticipate getting done with the advisement of the jury instructions before the lunch hour. I can't tell you how long it's going to take. It may take the whole day, but the party should, well, the state would go first, so the state should be prepared, perhaps to start closing arguments. I'll ask you at a later point, probably sometime on Monday, if you have an idea of how long that will be, because that will frankly dictate in part like where we are with how long it takes for me to go through the instructions, and whether I just instruct and then bring the jury back the next day for closing arguments. But that's generally the framework that I intend to follow. Any questions about any of that from the state?
Nothing about any of that, Your Honor.
Anything you think I need to address before I turn to Mr.
Oh boy.
We do have two things to clear a record about.
Go ahead.
Do that now?
Yep.
The first is for the testimony of two different witnesses. We provided Mr. Brooks with summaries of those witnesses' statements as recorded in the police reports. First was Deanna Aldrich. That included a piece of paper containing 3 paragraphs which summarized Ms. Aldrich's statement to the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department as they were memorialized in supplement number 55 under an incident report number of W21087731. The second of those was a 1-paragraph summary of the statement provided by Jason Hayes to the City of Waukesha Police Department, memorialized in supplement number 28 under incident report number 21047-493. These were, again, documents that were provided to Mr. Brooks in the discovery process, but we sought to be helpful in his presentation of evidence here at the trial today. The second issue that we'd like to make a record about relates to the testimony of Erica Patterson. So for the record, I think it's important to note that the 2 photographs the defendant attempted to show that witness and presumably put into evidence depicted what I believe to be the defendant and Miss Patterson's 15-year-old daughter.
Oh, man.
As well as their new grandchild, the daughter's child, who was born around May 1st of 2022.
That's absolutely disgusting. And I want to apologize too. I thought that that was an image of Erica Patterson with like her baby, but everyone let me know in the comment section that actually was his daughter with her newborn child, which is his grandchild. This guy's okay. I'm not even gonna get into like what he is, but yeah, just thank you all for letting me know.
I think that there was ample grounds for the court to end Ms. Patterson's testimony when it did, but for just in case that becomes an issue going forward, I'll make an offer of proof that Ms. Patterson, if asked about those pictures, would have testified that she did not provide them to Mr. Brooks. She provided them to a person named Michelle, who I believe is a mutual friend, who in turn provided them to Dawn Woods, the defendant's mother, long day, who then, that was the person who provided them to Mr. Brooks. If she were forced to answer questions about this supposed letter that Mr. Brooks was claiming to exist, she would have testified that she has not written a letter to Mr. Brooks since he came into our jail on November 22nd. She never went on November 21st either. At any point between his being taken into custody and today. It's my understanding that he has tried to call her from the Waukesha County Jail on 37 occasions. She has never accepted a single one of those phone calls.
Good stuff.
Finally,
that's great.
The early lunch break, I was informed by the bailiff staff that the defendant was twice offered to go to his cell to retrieve that letter that he talked about. He declined both times.
Yeah, so him and his mom are playing these games together.
The record being made. I will now unmute
2 peas in a
Brooks
pod.
and ask him if there's anything he needs to make a record of at this point on the topics that have been raised.
Here we go with this game. Are you talking to me? I can't hear.
So is there anything you wish to address before we break for the day?
Yeah, I wasn't really hearing everything that was just said good, but why haven't I been given the chance to offer all my filings and the evidence when I already stated that before? I would like all my filings. I would like every single filing that I filed placed into evidence. Every last one of them. that has yet to be done. I put you on notice, and I've stated it on the record, even before I even had a chance to start calling witnesses and put on a defense that I haven't even been adequately been able to do. So this is something that's been stated on the record numerous times. I did hear a reference to what was he just talking about? Whatever he was just talking about is in regards to
Erica
going to get the letter or whatever the case may be. First of all, it's not just one letter. Like I stated before, it's multiple letters. And for somebody that don't even know to try to tell me what I got, like you need to cut it out, man.
So he heard that. He heard that much.
Stop it. It seems to me that all y'all been wanting to do is gang up. Be biased, be prejudiced, and gang up. 4 against 1.
4 against 1.
You sit up there earlier and made a record before the lunch. You sit up there and made a record about all this stuff that happened in Nevada. That's other acts of evidence, ain't it? How was you allowed to put that on record and not even be truthful about everything that you said?
Okay, so I hope that Judge Darrell, after this, puts on the record. He claims he couldn't hear us, but he actually referenced a bunch of stuff that we were talking about. So clearly he heard everything we were saying. She's done that once before, but I really hope she does it again because it'd be hilarious.
But not one time did somebody say, no, we gonna strike that. Not one time. But if it had been me, it would have got struck. Or if it had been me, it would have been a problem. If it had been me, I'd have been held in contempt. Why was the bond not addressed? Why was the statement of particulars not addressed? No filings that I seem to file need to be addressed. After you sat there and told me that that's what I needed to do, do you want to refer to the waiver of counsel, which, again, for the record, you accepted it the way that I gave it to you, which clearly states on there, I do not waive my right to assistance of counsel, and you accepted that. But you still turn around and continue to violate my Sixth Amendment right. You violate my First Amendment right by telling me what I can and can't say, which I have the right to say whatever I want to say and to be heard. That's the First Amendment. You sit up here and talking about a fourth option that you came with out of the blue for Illinois versus Allen when there is no fourth option.
He's literally making this all up as he goes along.
Then you try to sneak some other case laws in that you just came up with today. I don't know if you came up with that when you was on one of your breaks that you take, but that it's awful funny that it never got mentioned before. You've repeatedly made a false record. You want to sit up here and perpetuate all this disruptive behavior and this, that, and the third, when you knew from the point of the start of this trial, 1, that I wasn't prepared, 2, that I did not understand the proceedings.
So why represent yourself?
Find a way to get around.
Stupid.
Just like you found a way to get around answering what your name was, which you're a public servant, the name that you have on file, with the Secretary of Treasury and State, however you want to put it. You were asked for a certified copy of your oath of office, which you stated on the record you would not provide. Didn't give any case law why you don't have to provide that. Have yet to prove subject matter jurisdiction, for the record. Have yet to show that you even have a license to practice law. Haven't proven that yet. And neither has the prosecution.
Jeez, how much longer is he going to go on about this?
Why can't I place your oath of office?
We got about 3 minutes left. Just buckle in. He's going to keep going.
Why can't I make that part of evidence? The oath that you haven't even honored, not one bit. Doing enough to keep your face clean doesn't constitute being fair. Doesn't constitute being impartial. When the jury was selected, I struck the whole jury. That never got addressed in any way, shape, or form. When you knew, when you were informed way before that I was striking the whole jury. So how can you go over that constitutional right, which I have the right to not pass a jury?
Mr. Brooks, I'm muting you. And the reason I'm muting him is because he has not addressed a single issue that was raised at the end of this hearing today. He is simply rehashing previous determinations of this court. I would describe it as a rant. He continues to impugn the integrity of this court and this process. Again, he did not address any of the issues that I raised at the end of this hearing. From my perspective, the issues that he is raising are all related to claims that a sovereign would make, someone who claims to be a sovereign citizen, claims that have no base, that are baseless in law and in fact. I'm not going to address them any further. Again, they are simply baseless. And with that, I'm going to end for the day. I'll see the parties at 8:30 a.m. on Monday. Thank you, everyone. We are in recess.
Okay. It's so weird. I'm pretty sure this video will only be about a couple hours or so. Every time you deal with this guy, it feels like it's like a 5-6 hour, like... It feels like it takes like 5 to 6 hours, and that's mostly because all the antics he pulls, but also he's just a draining person to deal with. Like, having to deal with this on a daily basis is absolutely horrible. And like I've said before, you know, we get to just watch this and then we can turn it off, or we can not watch it for a little bit. I'm sorry I went away for so long. It was yet again one of these situations where this guy is draining. While I was away, I couldn't help. I do want to see how this trial like finishes out. And I don't look at anything until like I record these videos, because I don't like to know what's coming, or I don't like to know exactly what it is that's going to happen. It just doesn't feel right. So that is day 12, and I think this goes up to day 15, so we don't really have too much left. But I want to say thank you all so much for continuing to watch these with me, because I know it is a lot. Some of you have watched this trial numerous times. I appreciate that you all would even want to watch this with me. Like, I can't stress enough how much I appreciate that. But I want to say thank you all so much for watching this with me, and if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you did something good for somebody today. Hope somebody did something good for you, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.